This is CBC Windsor News. I'm Chris Hensing. Thanks for joining us. Our top stories. The city says the approved plan to allow dangerous goods across the Ambassador Bridge is a bad move, what they're worried about, and their next steps. Turns out it's a promising apple season, why the weather was just right for your first bite of a fall favorite. And sentencing for a local Catholic high school teacher found guilty of sex-related offenses. Jacob Barker with the details.
A former Catholic board high school teacher chose not to say anything following recommendations from the Crown and his defense in his sentencing. I'm Jacob Barker at the Superior Court in Windsor, where 39-year-old Ryan Turgeon's sentencing was discussed. Turgeon taught religion, civics and career, and drama at Catholic Central High School. Earlier this year, Turgeon was found guilty of sexual exploitation of a child and making sexual material available to a person under the age of 18. As part of the same trial, he was found not guilty with regards to several other charges involving a second complainant. The case involves what the Crown says was an exchange of sexual images made over social media, as well as sexual advances made by Turgeon toward a student who was between the ages of 16 and 17 over a number of weeks or months. It happened between the fall of 2017 and summer of 2018. According to Crown Attorney Jamie Lesperance, it began after a conversation between the two after a grade 12 drama class in which the student expressed his uncertainty about his sexuality. Lesperance called Turgeon's actions an egregious breach of trust and asked Justice Brian Dubé for 3 years jail time. Paul Saka, who was the lawyer representing Turgeon, asked for 12 to 18 months. He argued there were inconsistencies and uncertainties about how many images were sent and the content of the videos and images. Saka agreed that denunciation and deterrence should be of utmost importance in the sentencing, but says as a first-time offender, any jail sentence given to Turgeon must show restraint and must be as short as is necessary. He says his client maintains his innocence. Justice Dubé says he will decide on sentencing following the new year on January 21st.
CBC's Jacob Barker. City Council isn't too happy with what's being allowed to cross the Ambassador Bridge. Michigan's government gave the green light for loads with dangerous goods and hazardous materials to cross last month. Windsor's mayor wants the Canadian government to step in.
At the end of the day, what we really want is a continuance of the restriction that is in place. Our fire chief articulates it quite well, that the existing Ambassador Bridge was not built to handle spills in the event that dangerous goods are crossing. So the restriction that is in place, there haven't been any spills because they haven't been able to cross. And we think that's quite sensible when you're talking about an important and vital waterway like the Detroit River.
Now, one of the big issues is the streets that these trucks will likely take to cross the bridge. Now, there was a ferry that carried these types of materials across the river, but it has stopped running. Now there's concerns about these materials going down Huron Church, possibly Wyandotte, because of the access points to the bridge. Council will write another letter to the federal government with thoughts from the police, fire department, and other city departments. Windsor police are investigating two separate fires that they believe were deliberately set. The first one happened around 4 a.m. yesterday at a house in the 1500 block of Pelzer Street. Police say it caused minor damage, and the same house was the scene of a fire last month. The second fire, it happened just 30 minutes later. That was on Cowan Court in Amherstburg. Officials say that house was completely engulfed in flames, resulting in roughly $1.6 million in damage. No injuries reported in either of those fires. An officer in Sarnia, previously accused of assault, is now facing additional charges. On August 30th, police were called to a dispute involving two people known to each other. Now, that included a suspended constable of the police service. At the time, the 47-year-old officer was charged with assault, criminal harassment, animal cruelty, and mischief. Now, he's also facing a charge of uttering threats and 12 counts of possessing an unauthorized firearm. Lawyers representing healthcare advocates have launched a charter challenge against a controversial Ontario law. Bill 7 allows hospitals to send discharged patients into long-term care homes they did not choose. And if a patient opts to stay in the hospital, they're going to face a hefty charge. Brittany Billette was in the courtroom today. She has this report.
The Advocacy Centre for the Elderly and the Ontario Health Coalition argues that Bill 7 violates the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Just even today, emails are flooding in from people in this situation, and they're horrified.
Lawyers appeared in court today to challenge the constitutionality of the law, also known as the More Beds, Better Care Act. It passed in 2022 by the Ford government, and it allows hospitals to choose a nursing home for a patient who has been deemed by a doctor as requiring an alternate level of care. The patient doesn't have to consent, and if they choose to stay in hospital, they're charged $400 a day. Advocates argue the law unfairly targets seniors and takes away their freedom of choice and autonomy through coercion.
I think everyone understands how immoral it is to do this to people in their last weeks and months of their lives as they're dying.
Under the law, patients' health information can be shared with homes without their consent. They can also be sent to nursing homes up to 70 kilometers away from their preferred spot in Southern Ontario and up to 150 kilometers away in Northern Ontario. Patients who submitted affidavits say the law forced them to make decisions they would not have made otherwise.
So many families are in the same position that I'm in, and they're going through grief, shock, and being mad at this whole system, that they feeling like they had no control. They were just pushed through a system, and the hospitals were just happy to get rid of them.
Justice Robert Senta pushed back on some of the arguments made in court, saying that getting to choose from a list of alternative homes is constitutionally sound. At a news conference, Ford said Bill 7 makes sure that seniors are taken care of properly.
Hospital is not the place to drop off your mother or your father. They don't get the care, and they aren't equipped to take care of them like a long-term care home.
The Ontario government says that the bill is meant to free up hospital beds and alleviate crowding. It also argues that patients don't have a charter right to live in a hospital bed for free after they've been discharged. Arguments are expected to continue on Tuesday. Brittany Billette, CBC News, Toronto.
Politicians in Amherstburg are expected to discuss creating a new town hall inside the old General Amherst High School just down the road. Developer Peter Valente bought that old high school last year after the public board put it up for sale, and he joined Windsor morning host Peter Duck to pitch his vision.
So our proposal is to keep parts of the school, like the historical facade. That's what you're going to see at council tonight. That's what's going to be on debate, is the portion of the school that's facing the park. That's the original facade of the school that would potentially become Amherstburg's new town hall.
Big shakeup at the University of Windsor. President Robert Gordon is leaving the job early. Now, he will retire at the end of the academic year, but could have stayed on until at least 2031. Board of Governors Chair Helga Rydell said Gordon made the decision to leave early for personal reasons based on the best timing for his family and himself. She praised Gordon as an exceptional president. He first started in 2019. But today's announcement also drew criticism. The Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs issued a statement slamming Gordon for the university's agreement with a pro-Palestinian encampment earlier this year. According to the CIJA, Gordon leaves the university a legacy of division and tension. The Windsor Jewish Federation says that it agrees, asked to respond. Rydell said the university continues to work to foster an environment that's safe for all students. Well, with plenty of rain and a lot of sunny weather, apple season's off to a pretty good start in Windsor, Essex. Some orchards are running weeks ahead of schedule, and many varieties, well, they're ready to pick and eat.
Apples are extra juicy and nice and plump and ready to be picked. It's certainly one of the larger years we've had in quite a while, and obviously I think the weather has a lot to do with that, and we just had a really good spring, and everything seemed to bloom and pollinate, and now we've got quite a large crop of apples out there, so they're all ready to go.
Well, Colette, with your expert predictions and your knowledge of the weather, I'm sure that they're thanking you for your ability to bring that to them this summer.
Oh, yes, I'm sure I'm the first person that came to mind there.
Yeah, 100%. You are the first person who comes to mind when I think of a delightful story, a rainy, dreary day here in Windsor, but You've got photos, you've got a story from the weekend with a big pick-me-up. What are we looking at here?
Yes, what we're looking at here, this was up at Stony Lake, and it was a dog rescue that I do some work with, Golden Rescue of Canada, trying to break 2 world records. Right there's the cake, that was one, the largest dog cake, and the other record was the most number of dogs married in a ceremony. There I am with my dog Bogey and his new bride, Jewel there, who was wearing a lovely, it was like a Jackie O style. She had a pillbox hat, pearls. She even had a garter there. The happy couple. Unfortunately, didn't break the record. There were 200 dogs there, but didn't break the record. Guinness had an official there for most number of dogs married, but there was a 414-pound cake, or 188 kilos, Chris, and that is the new Guinness World Record. And
Not bad.
You also might remember Lloyd Robertson.
Yes.
Veteran from, host for Canadian news, and he officiated the ceremony. So I feel like it was a win.
Out there.
Oh, yeah. It was a win in both cases for me.
Did you try the cake? Were you allowed to try the cake? Could it be eaten by humans?
How did you know that I did try the cake?
Yeah, of course you did, Colette.
It's like, it was for, I wasn't necessarily going to share that. It was made for dogs. It's like pumpkin, peanut butter, whatever, but the icing actually looked good, so I took a little swipe, a little lick of that. It was terrible.
Oh.
It was awful. It served me right. It was for the dogs, right?
Well, we're learning our lessons. We're learning our lessons. Yeah. What we got going on this week, pal?
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you that. Let's take a look at some numbers. And by the way, a large amount of money. Like they received a donation of like $50,000 from a benefactor, even though they didn't get both records there. Okay, let's show you these numbers and talk about some of the temperatures that we're seeing around the region. You know, those high teens to 20 degrees. Basically, our daytime highs are up around 21 or so in terms of what we're seeing. But those are the current temperatures. Drier conditions, even some breaks in the cloud cover. It's really that we've got one system that's exited, but another one is going to be moving in. So enjoy what it is that we have tonight. I'm not saying there isn't a chance for a stray shower, still some isolated showers possible, but the potential is with this next system where we not only get into some rain, but some thunderstorm activity as that one moves in. So timing it out for you as we take you through the overnight, just isolated stuff, even early tomorrow morning. Now, a lot of this energy seems to want to go around southwestern Ontario, but I still cannot rule out that as we get into latter part of the day tomorrow, so think more into the evening and overnight, that we could have some heavier downpours with some embedded thunderstorms. So kind of be aware of that. Earlier in the day, potential isn't too significant, so shouldn't be too bad with these, all right? But locally, some heavier amounts are possible. Look at your temperatures, really mild because of all the humidity we have in the air with these systems that are rolling through. So overnight tonight, your lows around 17 degrees. Here we go tomorrow, 22. Again, this is late day for us. And then into Wednesday, we're looking at some sunny breaks. I actually see quite a bit of breaks, quite a few breaks coming in the cloud deck, but still a chance for some showers there, and 23. And then so far, it is looking that as we approach next weekend, a decent forecast is there, but there's stuff brewing in the Gulf, which I'll talk about tomorrow, that could mess that up a bit.
Okay, thanks for this, Colette.
You're welcome.
We take ourselves a live look outside. We see some of that gray we've been dealing with all day. When we're back, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is stateside. We tell you why. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is at the United Nations focusing today on the troubles in Haiti. He urged other leaders to help come up with a plan to address humanitarian needs and support political transition in the nation. David Thurton has more on how Canada is willing to help.
At the United Nations, Justin Trudeau met with Haiti's new acting prime minister.
It's a real pleasure to sit down with Prime Minister Denis to talk about the challenges in Haiti.
Haiti is still in the grips of a humanitarian and security crisis. A bleak situation that's left millions facing starvation. Spiraling violence has displaced about 700,000 Haitians.
La gravité de cette crise.
Haiti's prime minister said at a special UN Council meeting that Canada chairs that the gravity of the situation can no longer be ignored.
With this context in mind, we must come together with a serious, viable plan.
Warring gangs still control much of the capital, Port-au-Prince, even 3 months after a multinational security force landed on the island. Kenya leads that force. Its president visited his troops this weekend. He's backing calls to expand the international mission.
On the suggestion to transit this into a fully UN peacekeeping mission, we have absolutely no problem if that is the direction the UN Security Council wants to take it.
The current mission is underfunded and understaffed. Of the 1,000 police officers Kenya promised, less than half have arrived.
The facts on the ground are getting worse and worse every day. We need a first world military intervention, not third world, not whatever, that, you know, and I still believe this, and I don't think we're going to get out of this with 500 or 1,000 Kenyan troops.
Canada has given $100 million so far, but has still not committed to putting boots on the ground.
So we're just willing to write checks and not go boots on the ground. Is that still the position of the government?
Our position has always been to fund.
Canada, though, supports turning the international mission into a UN peacekeeping force. But it appears that's only as long as other countries provide the soldiers. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
In the Middle East, fears continue to grow that an all-out war will soon break out between Israel and Hezbollah. Lebanese officials say Israeli strikes killed more than 490 people today and injured more than 1,600 others. They've also sent tens of thousands fleeing northwards in search of safety. Meanwhile, Hezbollah continues to fire rockets into Israel. CBC's Chris Bound has the latest.
Israel's warplanes unleashed an onslaught on Lebanon, hitting what Israel's military claims were hundreds of Hezbollah targets, including people's homes, where the Israeli military says the militant group kept missiles and ammunition.
This is an advance warning for your own safety and the safety of your family.
Copying a tactic used before it pulverized much of Gaza, Israel's military told civilians to leave and sent text message warnings to tens of thousands. But this would be Lebanon's deadliest day in almost 20 years, as the death toll soared, with dozens of children among the dead, say Lebanese authorities. The continuing Israeli aggression on Lebanon is a war of extermination, said Ziad Makari.
I have a message for the people of Lebanon.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke directly to people in Lebanon.
Israel's war is not with you, it's with Hezbollah.
On Lebanon's roads, there was panic. There were strikes, warplanes, and destruction, said this man as he left Sidon. We took our belongings and left. Israel wants to hit us, said Joseph Ghaffari in Beirut. It wants to squeeze Hassan Nasrallah to start a war. Nasrallah leads Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. He has said when there's a ceasefire in Gaza, Hezbollah will stop shelling northern Israel. Months of fighting have forced tens of thousands of Lebanese and Israelis out of their homes. Hezbollah has been dealt heavy blows, including the pager and radio detonations last week that injured thousands. Lebanon's health minister underscored the enormous cost of more escalation. During the last Hezbollah-Israel war, 11,000 people were wounded, but in less than a week, this time, nearly 5,000 have been injured already, he said. Israel's strikes continued into the evening, hitting Beirut, where Israel says its target was a Hezbollah leader. Hezbollah, though, still has powerful ballistic missiles it could use against Israeli cities, and Israel could mount a ground offensive, meaning both sides still have plenty of destruction they can unleash. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
3 new films put beauty standards in their sights. The message behind the movies, next. Excessive rains have been causing local flooding in some regions around the globe today. Let's take a look at Japan. Just a massive buildup there. Rainfall hitting record levels in the past few days. This is the north central region. At least 7 people reported dead, 2 missing. If we take a look at what's happening in Europe, floods have left a trail of destruction from Romania to Poland. Now, they're expected to peak later this week, the water levels in Budapest. That's going to be at record levels. Heavy rain continues to fall in parts of Britain. The water blocking roads, causing travel disruptions. Some residents say they haven't seen it like this in over a decade. Hollywood is confronting beauty standards in a trio of new films. The movies tackle aging and body image and challenge some of the unrealistic expectations it's placed on women. CBC's Magda Gaber-Selassie has more on the message that those movies hope to send.
Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. Hollywood's obsession with youth and beauty is the message we're all familiar with. But this year at TIFF, several movies took aim at the limitations society places on women.
You can't escape from yourself.
In The Substance, Demi Moore plays a fitness celebrity told she's too old to keep her show. Injecting herself with a solution to release a younger version of herself opens herself up to grave consequences.
I think the body horror, to me, is the perfect way to express the violence that, this pressure puts on us, and the violence that, in the end, we do to ourselves to kind of try and fit the absurd standard of perfection.
That sense of violence shines through in Shell 2. Starring Kate Hudson and Elizabeth Moss, it's another body horror exploring the pressure to press pause on the aging process.
This is obviously something people talk about all the time. What is it to age? What is it to feel like you're not relevant?
Relevance is a key theme of The Last Showgirl. Co-star Jamie Lee Curtis says,
"What I'm happy is that we're talking about this cosmeceutical industrial complex, which is feeding all of us every day through advertising, that we are not enough." Yeah. That's being explored in all these different art forms.
We get old, we age.
Tracy Moore is also thrilled these themes are being explored.
And I know a lot of actresses who feel this way. When they get to a certain age, they have to start thinking about fillers and facelifts and Botox because they feel the pressure of Hollywood.
Let's go. Proving these films are just more examples of art imitating life. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
A rare 18th century diamond necklace to be auctioned off soon is on public display today at Sotheby's in London.
This is a symphony of gold, diamonds, and silver. The back of the necklace is all mounted in gold to give it structure. And they knew already in the 18th century that diamonds would be highlighted with a lighter metal around it, so it's silver.
That thing weighs 300 carats and was made in the decade before the 1789 French Revolution. Some of those diamonds are thought to actually be from a necklace that brought scandal to French Queen Marie Antoinette. The price, $2.8 million. The necklace will be offered for sale in November. I like the ones that are inside of the cereal boxes, a little more attainable. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Download that CBC News app as well. All the stories that matter most delivered to your phone. And if you turn on the little alert, it'll come as it breaks. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.